Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington, Charles Bishop are out on assignment. I think they're actually still picking up their Christmas gifts. I told them to shop early like your boy, so I was able to get in here, and so is AD Drew. With that being said, welcome to episode 604 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, and the business of HBCU sports. In short, we just call it HBCU sports aesthetics. With that being said, I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As I said, both of them are out on assignment. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer. That's multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in a beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. For the holidays, we're at home, and as we like to say, HBCU sports pedagogy. With that being said, AD Drew, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Dr. Cavil. How you doing today, man?
I've been wanting to say this for a long time.
Watch out, world.
'Tis the night before Christmas. The lab is in the house.
It doesn't happen all the time.
No, it doesn't happen all the time like that. It doesn't happen all the time like that at all. So I've been waiting a chance to say it. I got to say it, so I'm excited about it. Again, how you doing today, this night before Christmas? Did you do all your shopping?
Yes and no. I shopped up until my budget hit its limit, and then whoever wasn't done taken care of, we catch you next time.
Hey, sometimes it be like that, as they say.
But you know,
out there. I got all my done. You know, I like to shop where I just go online and shop. Send it to me, and we'll get it done. Good evening, Edward Moore. Good to see you.
But the problem with shopping online, Doc, you have to plan to shop online and make sure you order by like the 15th, no later than about the 19th. You know, 20th is pushing it if you want those gifts to arrive, especially if you want them to arrive to your house, you have time to wrap them and then take them to someplace else. Now, if you send those directly to somebody, maybe. But you know what else you discover during this time of year, Dr. Cavil? I don't know if you are a kitchen person, somebody who likes to get in the kitchen and burn, as we like to say. But you know, you always discover Thanksgiving, Christmas, that your refrigerator is just not large enough. You know, okay, how do I put this ham or this turkey or this big old roast in here along with all the sides, and I got this big pot of greens, and you can't stack the desserts because the dish that they made in, and you're like, okay, I need to take the shelf out to put the ham or the turkey in, but if I take that shelf out, I don't have enough room for everything else. So that dilemma that we hit every year. That's almost kind of like, do we build our stadiums big enough for homecoming, or do we build it big enough for the rest of the season? Refrigerator's the same way. The other 360 days, 3 days a year, refrigerator's fine. But them 2 days, Thanksgiving, Christmas, especially if it's at your house, oh, good luck.
Yeah, and it's been at our house for a while. I've learned just to follow directions. And then you make it work. I just follow directions. I stay in good times with that, and I don't have to worry about anything. You notice my little cricket celebration bowl pullover. I got this back in August for the MEAC Swag Challenge. I picked it up. I like it. It's pretty nice little touch to it. This is done by Collegiate Luxury Collegiate wear in terms of their brand, the luxury brand Collegiate, and they sell some nice stuff. I had to give them some credit, and I wanted to give them a little shout out for the good work they're doing. Speaking of the Celebration Bowl, we have a coach between the SWAC and MEAC over at Prairie View, and I guess his job is certainly a lot of the fans at Prairie View would like to believe that he's going to get them to a SWAC championship game and win it, such that they can travel and make their plans to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. A couple other teams out there, but that is Valdosta State head coach who's leaving Valdosta State after coaching in the championship game. They lost that game to Ferris State 49-14, but he got them there. And that was the NCAA Division II national title game, which is Tremaine Jackson, a hot name in several FCS HBCU coaching searches, and he gets the nod or the tap on the shoulder to lead the Prairie View A&M football program under the AD Golf in terms of what that looks like. A little bit about, for those that been under a wheel, he was reported for both Prairie View and Alabama A&M, both HBCUs that compete in the SWAC. Valdosta State tweeted a post announcing the move. Coordination, it seemed, that went out between the two as Prairie View announced the move as well. Valdosta State, a four-time national champion, went 30-9 under Jackson's tutelage since his hire ahead of the 2022 season. That first season, with a lot of things came in there and coming in there late, they actually had a losing season, so that lets you know just how strong he's been over the last couple of years. In year two of the helm, Jackson led Valdosta State to the Gulf South Conference Championship, becoming the first Black coach in conference history to win the title. Was the only non-HBCU Black coach to win a conference championship in 2023. The Blazers closed out the regular season with a 10-1 mark this year, and as we talked about, since he was coaching against a couple of HBCUs doing this playoff run, we got a chance to talk to him early, particularly about that first matchup against Miles. And then he ended up taking on Virginia Union, and he got the victory in both of those games. And then got a big win in the semifinals to push on over to the championship game. Previous to that, he included an 8-2 record in 2021 out there in Colorado. That's Colorado Schools of the Mines. He had them ranked number 3 in the nations as he just kept getting things done. It was highlighted by the thrilling 26-21 victory over that number 3 ranking Colorado Schools of the Mine when he was at Mesa Mavericks. Colorado School of the Mines, people know, they follow Division II, that they're in
they always in the Final Four.
So they let you know, including the ranking there, just how strong they were. Jackson played on the defensive line at Texas Southern for 2 years after transferring from University of Louisiana Monroe. He actually graduated in 2006 from the University of Houston, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies. So he knows his way around the SWAC, knows his way around Texas. He was a defensive coordinator at the FBS level for Texas State over there, getting things done. So a lot of folks are excited about what he brings to the table. Take a moment. Let me know, what are your thoughts in terms of this hire for Prairie View, bringing in Tremaine Jackson?
You know, I'm pretty good in math, Dr. Cavil. This brother is 40-12 in 5 seasons as a head coach, including having a number 3 ranking with his team. And this year he was number 1 in the nation. And last year, Valdosta State was top 5 in the nation also. And for some reason, Dr. Cavil, some of us still want to find a way to poke a hole in this hire.
Wow, really?
40, let me do that, say that again. 40-12 in 5 seasons. That's 8 wins a year for those who like to do the math. Let's be fair, Dr. Cavil. One of those seasons was COVID. So 38 and 9. 38 and 9. That's in 5 seasons. That's 9 wins, Dr. Cavil.
Yeah.
Season.
Yeah.
And we want to just one short of 10 wins a season. And we want to complain. Look, this brother is walking Prairie View. Oh my God! I wish he would have went an hour and a half southwest of Valdosta. No offense to James Cozy, but I wish he would have been on the FAMU's list, and would have been considered by FAMU. I bet you the other A&M, that'd be the Alabama version, was talking to him and wish they would have him also, along with a few other FCSs that are not HBCUs. You know, I wish this brother luck, and let's see if he could do something that nobody in the West since Grambling has done since, what's that, 2017?
Yeah,
Dr. Cavil.
And that's great.
And that would be, can a West team win the SWAC championship? Everybody please remember, everybody, Alcorn was in the East when they won all those championships, even though they're in the West now. All those championships came in the East. So no Western team has won since Grambling in 2017.
Man, that's almost a decade. That's crazy when you think about it. Crazy. Yeah, I think he checks off a lot of the boxes, if not all the boxes, to be frank, in terms of it. So it'll be fascinating to see what is taking place there. I got a chance to speak with him. We look forward to having him on the show Thursday. Everything continues to work out. So we do plan to have a show after Christmas on Thursday, and we should get an interview with Tremaine Jackson. Maybe we can get a little more insight in terms of why Prairie View and what he plans to do with the show. Look at Coach Norman. He gives his kudos and checks out. He said a good coach. So fascinating to hear that. And Coach Norman, he knows some coaches out there, and he's been giving great analysis on the Black College Sports Network, specifically for you and Brian, in terms of what he does for Sports Rap. So fascinating to see with that. A lot of folks were excited before the announcement of Prairie View that it trickled out that Michael Vick would be named Norfolk State University's head football coach. Unanimous approval from the Board of Visitors on Friday afternoon. NSU's Director of Athletics, Dr. Melody Webb, announced that Michael Vick, a 4-time Pro Bowl selection and former number 1 overall NFL draft pick, has been named Norfolk State University's 19th head football coach. Today marks a historic day for Norfolk State University, Webb said. And I'm thrilled to welcome Michael Vick and his family back to Hampton Roads area to lead our football program. One of the greatest athletes the region has ever seen. Coach Vick's leadership, knowledge, and dedication will pour into the fundamental layers of the foundation we hope to build at Norfolk State football. What's fascinating in multiple ways for this hire for me is it's, to me, a little more similar to the Eddie George hire at Tennessee State. Obviously, a lot of folks are looking at Coach Prime because he was a star in that area, luminary, wasn't doing any coaching. To him, he admitted that he had thought about it, unlike George, who said he really hadn't even thought about it. But he was asked by university administrators about his interests. And after thinking about it and understanding that eventually that's what he wanted to do to get this early, he jumped on it. And before he could even finish up getting it done at Norfolk State, Sacramento State came in and tried to make their pitch, which was fascinating too. So it wasn't only HBCUs or other institutions that have considered this framework about moving their program forward. Sacramento State is an FCS program, but they're looking to move to FBS and actually ultimately at some point see if they can get into the Pac-12. Yeah, that's a different Pac-12 than what people reconfigured in memory to be for so many years, but still the Pac-12 in terms of the brand identity. The other thing that is fascinating to me is Norfolk State, until we get in the basketball season, I'm not sure if they get the credit they deserve. I mean, this is arguably the best men's and women's program out there, particularly when you put them together, what they've been able to do. I think there was a period of time where you could argue Norfolk State and Texas Southern were top programs, but Texas Southern has kind of faded just a little bit. And you got Grambling State that stepped up in terms of that picture, but Norfolk State has pretty much been steady, maybe a step back, but still over the last decade, it's one, if not the best program out there at the major division level, as I like to call it, in terms of Division I basketball. Certainly when you do the combination between the two, they're up there. They're getting it done. Track and field, they've been very solid in terms of what they do there. So overall, this is a top athletic program. Imagine if they can get football going. So I'm fascinated about this move. And the other thing is, while you do have some folks that have some concerns out there in terms of what people call a celebrity hire or whatever, is it's not like Norfolk State hasn't tried it the other way. I mean, they have literally tried multiple different ways. They brought over a championship level coach from the SWAC. It didn't work. Previous to that, they had a coach that was a championship level at the mid-major level, division level, as we like to call it again. Virginia State brought him up. That didn't quite work out. I mean, you can go back different iterations where they brought in a great offensive coordinator from Bethune-Cookman before that. Didn't work. They brought in another coach over the years. So they brought in various variations of the traditional strategy of getting coaches that you would believe would have some success, and it hasn't worked. So I'm interested to see can this different framework of mine work out, and how long are people going to give it? Because even Eddie George, it took a couple of more years than what you saw from Coach Prime, that other than the first year, pretty much hit it out the box the next 2 years of winning the conference championship, going undefeated, making a Celebration Bowl, although he was not able to win there. But one of them went to overtime, just to let you know how close that was in terms of that. I know you talked about this a little bit on Sunday's night show, and people can go back and get a fuller detail in terms of how you broke it down, but you can still give a little bit of your thoughts, particularly in terms of how I framed it in terms of this hire.
Dr. Cavil, you hit it on the head when you said it. Obviously, people have their reservations with him not being an experienced coach. But
for sure,
if there's one program that has done everything like we expect them to do, it has been Norfolk State. They promoted Division II coaches. They promoted coordinators. They've went out and gotten other people's coaches. And for some reason, they can't get it right. So for Norfolk State to think outside the box and go out and, like you said, Dr. Cavil, reminds you so much of the Eddie George, because just like Tennessee State officials reached out to Eddie George to gauge the interest, Norfolk State officials reached out to Michael Vick. Now, let's think about this. Eddie George didn't necessarily need a job. He was doing fine sitting there running his businesses in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, for sure.
Michael Vick sitting fine right there on Fox Sports analyzing football every Sunday.
That's
but
correct.
We know the volatility of the media industry, where, you know, we know how often these personalities change on Fox Sports, ESPN, CBS, TNT, whatever. So if he has that passion and the opportunities exist, hey, go for it. Now, what's going to be key is, who does he surround himself with? Does he surround himself with experienced veterans who are, and I hate to say it like this, Dr. Cavil, who are on board with the plan? Because don't hire that coach who feels some kind of way because you step to the front of the line. Hire that. I still need you to hire that hungry coach who wants an opportunity and wants to pass the knowledge on and wants to use this as the opportunity to get back in the game, or the stepping stone to go somewhere else, because all the lights are going to be in the Tidewater area next year. I don't care what y'all say about it. And Dr. Cavil, I was just curious about this, and you may know this better than me. When does the BAC media contract come up?
I'm hearing it's around the same time as the SWAC, which is like 2025. It may be a year difference. It may be 2026, but it's around the corner. And some of that may have to deal with how the contract was updated based on the schools leaving the MEAC, which may have triggered some updates to the contract. My understanding is coming up.
And the reason I asked that, obviously, Dr. Cavil, because with Michael Vick now being in the conference, I think that contract is going to be worth a little bit more. Just like when Prime was, y'all say what y'all want to, when Prime was in the SWAC, that contract was worth a little bit more. We got a little more media coverage. So say what you want to. He's going to bring the eyes to the BAC. You don't think somebody's going to pick up that Hampton Norfolk game? You think that's just going to be on local? And last year we couldn't find that game to save our life. I guarantee you find that game this year. You're going to find the Norfolk Howard game. You're going to find the Norfolk South Carolina State game. You're going to find the North Carolina Central game. I don't know about Delaware State, but you know, you're going to find these games this year.
Yeah, and depending on how quick he can able to get started, some of those games, like we saw, frankly, for Coach Prime and the SWAC with Jackson State, were flexed. They were flexed to the higher level network. So you can see that too, going from ESPN3 to ESPNU or ESPNU to ESPN2. And if he really starts to be able to get the win, you can even see it flexing to ESPN, depending on some of the dates throughout the week. So great point there. We got two more mid-major coaching hires to talk about, but we're going to take a break first, come back on the other side, talk about those hires as we get back into it. Stick with us after we take this first break.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
It's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The fourth annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Will with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I know EA has a question out there, and I will get to it, but I want to get to these two announcements first, and then we'll come back and make sure we park EA's question. So I can try to give them a perspective of my thoughts on Tennessee State. I have been following that quite a bit. It's just the nature of how I look at HBCU. So I do have some thoughts on that. What's interesting here in this announcement is Elizabeth City State hires rival CIAA-led coach, which was Adrian Jones, who was terminated by Shaw because that position was left open. But Shaw has also filled that position with Reginald Ruffin and Gregory Ruffin, which is the cousin
Reginald Ruffin.
Reginald Ruffin, that is no longer coaching football, but is the AD at Tuskegee University. I saw AD Drew look up and be like, no, not that one.
Wrong Ruffin.
Right. I saw that.
Hey, at least you didn't say Eddie Ruffin.
For sure. Jones served as the head coach of Shaw for 9 seasons, leading the team to a 35-45 record. But a little bit shocking because in 2018, which most people now, even though it was all CIAA, we still tend to kind of look at it, at least this first season. We looked at it between the previous CIAA South and the previously CIAA North. All the power was in what was the CIAA South, with every team having a winning record, which lets you know just the talent that was in what was previously known as the CIAA South. So to come out of there with a winning record at 6-4, a conference record as well, winning record, it was a surprise for many people that he was let go. Some people say it may have been more than just on-field performance. He had Devin Hunt, who won the CIAA Defensive Player of the Year award, on that squad that helped him do as much as they got done, with some big wins late in the season. With that being said, he doesn't have to worry about it. Adrian Jones is now at Elizabeth City State, who looks to move forward and see if they can come home and get things done in the CIAA. Again, we also have Gregory Ruffin taking over the Shaw's position. That announcement came out today. Congratulations to Coach Ruffin, as he has been known as starting programs, rebuilding programs, actually heads back to Shaw, program that he kind of got rekindled in some ways in terms of the work he was doing there, where he jumped off and had a winning season before he eventually left that post for another rebuild. And he's done that quite a bit.
That was at Payne.
See what he's been able to do there. So I want to get your thoughts on both of those, and you can start with whatever direction you want to start.
Interesting that Jones was let go. That Jones was let go at Shaw to even start with, like you said, Dr. Cavil. Winning season of all of the dismissals that occurred this season, that was the one that shocked me more than any of them, was Jones being let go. And if he thought it was tough at Shaw, oh my God, Elizabeth City State, that is a tough one. That is a program that has been, I hope there are no Viking fans out here when I say this or they're listening to us. That program has been the doormat, one of the doormats of the CIAA for a number of years. So what also makes this interesting is, I don't know if people realize geographically where Elizabeth City State is, but they're right there on that Virginia border. Does Mike Vick being in Norfolk actually affect recruiting? Will those be some players? Because I'm not 100% sure that players who would be going to Elizabeth City State would also be in consideration for Norfolk State. But it sure can't help it if you're Elizabeth City, having a Mike Vick right there in the corner about 3 hours away from you. And for Greg,
it's even a little shorter than that. I got to take that trip down there and see Elizabeth City State. You're exactly right. It may not be an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, I mean,
that border. You're right.
You throw a rock and if the wind blows the right direction, it lands in Virginia. I mean, it's just as simple, you know.
That's correct.
And then, oh my God, Greg Ruffin to come back to Shaw, a program that he helped restart in 02. I know he restarted the football program at Payne. He had the experience down there at Edward Waters and leading that program.
And then he came back to Texas for a little while, wasn't he? At Wiley,
I mean, Greg has been around
college or something. Wasn't he at Texas College for a minute?
No, he was at Alabama State most recently before he was. Yeah. Then he stayed in Montgomery and became the athletic director for the Montgomery Public Schools, the district public schools down there. So you're talking about a man who can build a program. I hope this time Ruffin is able to not only rebuild the program, well, he doesn't have to rebuild it this time. Now he's in a situation where he's taking a program that has built and trying to take it to the next level. A little bit of a different situation than what Ruffin has been used to taking over. So, I hope Ruffin does good. I sent him a congratulation text today when I saw it. We hope to get him on the Sports Wrap coming up real soon. So shout out to Greg. Hey, Greg, if you're out there, you got my number. Holler at your boy. Holler at your boy so we can go ahead and get this interview set up. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah. With that being said, let me get into the question by EA. He said, Dr. Phil, I would love to hear your take on the Tennessee State situation and if it's a precursor for things to come for HBCUs. I would stop short of saying it's a precursor because the dynamics and politics of HBCUs through various states, although you're referencing ones that are public, there are some states that certainly will be looking to see how this goes, and they could pull one of those levers themselves. But I would hate to say a precursor for all public HBCUs in the various states because there's just so many different dynamics. But it is a major challenge for Tennessee State. Unfortunately, we know how this goes. We've known for many years that HBCUs have not gotten the rightful financial support they are supposed to get. We actually heard the mandate that we've talked about on this when President Biden released the information from the education framework that talked about the public HBCUs and billions of dollars that they have not gotten. A lot of that money would go to states and they would divvy it differently instead of taking it to the HBCU. Some of them would even reject that money. Others would displace that money. So they would wait literally to see what the Fed government would give. And then instead of giving appropriation that they had to give, they would actually back it in. So you see a lot of that taking place across various HBCUs. And certainly we've heard the numbers that are taking place at at Tennessee State. So there's a lot of significant challenges going on. So we all need to be diligent and find a way to support them. One of the concerns I have that makes Tennessee State unique is in terms of athletics, while they have some nice academic partnership with HBCUs, and we probably don't do this as we see our counterpoints in terms of really working with each other from an academic perspective, unlike what we do in athletics. Well, in athletics, Tennessee State is what we refer when we talk about HBCUs as an independent. And so they're kind of isolated. So how does that affect what the Tennessee State Legislative Board believes that they can kind of do with Tennessee State and not necessarily get the gravitas across the board of what other HBCUs do that are in same conferences and how that allows them to be manipulated. So there's some concerns I have with that framework in terms of what that looks like. But certainly having the Representative Love Jr. come out and that's embodied as part of the legislation, happens to be a Tennessee State alumni in terms of undergraduate and his doctorate there at the institution. That is significant because he's going to be able to understand the language that they speak in terms of legislation and find ways to uniquely push back. And he frankly put it out there. And I think he did that purposefully in terms of Tennessee State alums that were asking questions. He made sure that he was very upfront in terms of what he was going to do there. which gives a little pushback. And don't take it for granted that pushback, even though it may seem small in terms of words, how significant that can be in terms of blunting some of that momentum of what takes place. And it gives the administrator and the board at Tennessee State a little leverage to also push back, that they know they have somebody within that body that is just not going to be quiet in terms of what's taking place. So that's a significant statement that just recently came out by Representative Love Jr. in terms. I had a chance to briefly meet him, not to say that we're in any depth. And this was many moons ago. This was my understanding when he first was elected in office, taking place of what his dad had previously did there. And we were doing a presentation at the HBC Story Conference. And it just happened, the paper that I was doing was about Tennessee State and the expansion of the SWAC from an economic analysis. And he was fascinated about it. He asked about it, and I actually sent him analysis and copy of the paper. Obviously, since then, it hadn't done enough for things to change. But that's the kind of mindset he has, that he is that diligent about doing the work of the community at large in Tennessee, specific in Nashville, the Black community, obviously, and his constituents associated with Tennessee State. So I think that's a long way to talk about that. No, not necessarily a serious precursor, but it's something to make sure we keep our eyes on, because there are some unique situations where you have HBCUs in states that have a similar type of situation, and you can kind of see that maybe taking place, particularly those states that only have one public HBCU. So be careful and be mindful of what that looks like with those kind of states that seem to do unneedly damage to HBCUs. With that, we'll take our next break. We'll come back on the other side. We're going to get into some rankings out there. Basketball. It is getting really close to the basketball in terms of conference play starts off. And I want to look at Liv's rankings. She does rankings for both men's and women's. But look at those rankings, and I want to get some thoughts and some dialogue from our listeners out there. What do you think about where these rankings are in terms of some of these teams? So we'll be right back on the other side, and we'll jump right into that. And I'll give you some other analytics out there, particularly after the Chris Paul Classic took place, which the MEAC just put out the broom. Frankly, they just brought out the brooms. With that being said, we'll take our next break and come back on the other side.
At AutoMasters LLC, our mission is to serve our community by providing quality automobiles at affordable prices. All of our vehicles are inspected and certified to offer you the confidence in knowing you have a quality vehicle. Our goal is to provide you with a seamless process and positive experience for your automobile purchase. Financing recommendations and specific vehicle inquiries are available at your request. You can find us at www.automasters06.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please feel free to contact Terrence Miles at 601-927-7794. And oh yeah, tell him Sonia sent you.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T, featuring Morehouse College and Tuskegee University. Don't miss this action-packed event happening at NBA All-Star 2025 and filled with competitive matchup and marching band performances celebrating HBCU pride. See you in the Bay.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil, and inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Drew, let's get into some of this top 5 ranking. Unlike we do the top 7, we tend to come out after the first week that conference play starts, but I wanted to get in a little bit of this. I think we'll start with the women first in terms of the top 5 and give some updates of what that looks like, and then move into deeper into the dialogue from that perspective. But as we get that all shaped up, it's been a little challenge for some of the programs out there. Norfolk State is still continuing to do what they need to do in terms of overall, and they're ranked in the top 25 mid-major. They have gotten as high as in the top 5 ranking. Fascinating in terms of what they're bringing to the table. So a lot of thoughts in terms of what that looks like. So let's get into this top 5. We have Hampton in the mix at number 5. At number 4, you have Howard Bison at number 3, Alabama A&M at number 2, Coppin State, and at number 1, Norfolk State on the women's side. I want to get into and give you some records. So let me do that real quick in terms of what that looks like, starting with Hampton, which is kind of bounced back. Remember, they're on the first-year coach, getting it done in so many different ways there of what that looks like. Their overall record for Hampton coming into this year is 3-7. But interesting to see what they're doing. But they got a couple of big wins. Then you go back to Howard that opened up the season for the long MEAC-SWAC matchup on the women's side.
That was over. Don't talk about it out loud, Dr. Cavil.
Exactly. Howard got it done there in terms of that matchup, and Howard's overall record is at 6-8. We saw Alabama A&M jump out and get it done very early in terms of how they jumped out there under their first-year coach, really seeming to have Alabama A&M playing good. They got an overall winning record at 7-4, really playing well in terms of what that looks like. Then you have Coppin State with a winning record as well at number 2. They're 8-6. And then again, as I said, Norfolk State just getting it done with the overall record 11-4 with some big wins, even a Power 5 win. We've seen some of those Power 4s, people like to call it now. But fascinating when you think about it. And shout out to Liv that has been doing the hard work, putting these rankings up weekly when a lot of folks are still focused on football. So I want to give a little love. We're going to try to bring it into the lab and get our own take of how she does her rankings and what this is out there. But I wanted to support as we start to transition into these basketball rankings. I wanted to give a little update and show some love and get the people to start thinking about what's out there on the basketball side. With that, I'll pass it to you, Drew. What are your thoughts in terms of these rankings that we talked about? Before I do that, I want to give you this little update because I love the matchup between MEAC and SWAC or independents. The MEAC on the women's side and the women's basketball 1-0 against the SWAC. That lone game was to open up the season. That was Howard traveling down to FAMU. So credit to Howard. They went on the road and got a win against a resurgent FAMU team that looks like it's building and are trying to get some stuff done. The MEAC women's basketball program are 3-1 against HBCU Division I independents. That includes A&T, Hampton, and Tennessee State. Tennessee State didn't play any HBCU program on the women's side. So you also have a big matchup coming up next Monday after Christmas, which will be one of the final matchups between HBCUs in the MEAC or SWAC and outside of that, and that's out of the MEAC. So fascinating to see what that looks like. I believe it's Delaware State taking over North Carolina A&T. But Norfolk State has 2 of those big wins in terms of the independents, beating up on Hampton, as well as taking care of North Carolina A&T, which a lot of people anticipated. A&T is one of the teams that are surprising some folks that are not in the top 5, as they've been kind of battling some injuries as they close out the season hot last year, but not to be this year thus far. With that being said, shout out to Lennon as he is celebrating the Spartans because they are getting it done both on the men's and women's side, and they are hot. With that being said, AD, Drew, what are your thoughts?
Let's do the where is portion, Dr. Cavil. You already mentioned one of those programs. Where is A&T women? Where is Southern? Where is Tennessee State? These were 3 programs that we were talking about on a regular last year. Where are they at right now? Obviously, we know the standard bearer. Boy, lot going on that Tidewater area, the 757, because for something to overtake basketball season at Norfolk State, it had to be special, because men's and women's basketball at Norfolk State is basically what they live for up there. So the standard bearer is Norfolk State. Howard, we know, has always been that team that has been a challenge for Norfolk when it comes tournament time. Having stuck in, what was it, last year or 2 years ago when Howard won the BA tournament? But these years start to run together. But we know Howard has won within the last couple of years also. Hampton, going into that competitive CAA, that's going to be interesting to see how they wind up coming out. Alabama A&M, new team, new coach, new attitude up there, it looks like, in Huntsville. Great job there by Alabama A&M. So it's really going to be fun looking at these teams. But I'm going to be honest with you right now, Dr. Cavil, I'm like a lot of fans. I haven't had the chance to take as deep of a dive into these basketball programs as I would love to. But this week and a half that I'm at home, it's going to allow me to really take a deep dive into these programs, both men and women, and to really tell you how I feel about these programs come conference time. But do we really even pay attention to HBCU basketball before conference time? I got to ask the question, Doc.
I'll be frank with you. I don't think we do. But one of the issues is I don't think we play enough HBCU games that would drive the natural interest of fans. We don't play enough regional games. Unlike what you see in football, I mean, you see those matchups. You see the MEAC SWAC, and actually it's kicked off with a MEAC SWAC challenge and ends with the huge celebration bowl. So there's some natural components over there, but we tend to get a couple of crossover games, whether they're in classics or home games. So we see, a couple of those matchups throughout the year that at least give you some indication of what's to be. We don't really get that in basketball. You don't play many home games, first of all, at all.
But you're chasing the bag
of the crossover. And last year you saw quite a few of them, which I was happy about. But even those were in like classic games. These
tournament
type games.
Yes.
So they wasn't even at home for the fans. So even that lost some momentum. So that's one of the things in one of the segments we were going to get into was, what do you want HBCU fans want for Christmas? We'll hopefully still get a chance to do that, because we're going to pivot and look at on the men's side of this as you can start to pull that up. But that's one of the concerns I have. To your point, there is not quite enough interest in it, and a lot of that is simply because we're not doing what's necessarily on our side of things in regards to making sure we have these matchups. So somehow we have to convince these coaches as well as the ADs that there is an interest in playing some of these matchups. And some of them, frankly, are natural. Bethune-Cookman and South Carolina State, and we've seen that in terms on the men's side with basketball a little bit. That's important. We even see it with Tennessee State and Alabama A&M. But they don't play two in the same year. They rotate every other year for home and home games, which I guess is better than nothing. But imagine if you had a home and home, those two games each year. Tennessee State and Jackson State matchup. That's not a very far distance. Why don't we see those games? Or Tennessee State, Alabama State, or Alabama State, South Carolina State are some matchups where the literally are bus driving distances of games they play anyway. So that's the concerning nature with that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Dr. Cavil, we out here, let's be real. These basketball teams right now are chasing bags. But we getting all this money to go play the P4 schools or P5, P6, how many ever it is for basketball, because I know we've got a couple conferences like the Big East and A10 that don't play football that we consider power conferences for basketball. But Dr. Cavil, why not, while we're on the road playing I'm just going to say South Carolina State goes and plays Tennessee. They get a bag to go play Tennessee. How hard would it be for us to take a bus down to Tennessee State while we on the same road swing? How hard would it be for Prairie View if they're going to play? I'm just trying. If they're going to play Duke, I'm just going to throw somebody out there. How hard would it be for Prairie View to, while they're playing Duke, to pick up a game against Central or A&T or even the South Carolina State while they're on their same swing?
I love it. I think we should do more of it. I've seen it done, a couple of times, but it's not done as often as it should be. And Lennon's back out here talking about Norfolk State's homecoming is going to be sick. You need to save that and don't put that out there. You need to put that on a shirt. Homecoming sick with Vic. You need to go ahead and put a trademark on that or something. With that being said, let's get in here and look at this top 5 on the men's side. You have Southern University that's sitting at 5-7. You have Hampton University, number 4. They're getting done in the Coastal in terms of some of their non-conference games. Interesting to see that matchup this week. Should be fascinating coming up after Christmas, as you will have that on CBS with some of those rival matchups, Hampton, Norfolk State, Howard, and Hampton. How that looks, that'll be fascinating to see what that looks like. But they sit at 7-5. And then we get into the MEAC, have 3 of the top 3 teams sitting in that position, starting with number 3, which is Delaware State, that took 2 games from the SWAC in the Chris Paul Classic, including one against Grambling, which was a fascinating matchup, and the other one against Alabama State. Delaware State comes in with a record of 7-6. You have South Carolina State that has a record of 6-8. They have a win against Alabama A&M, but a loss to Bethune-Cookman. So it's fascinating to see what that looks there. Then you have Norfolk State sitting at 8-6, doing what they always do, getting a lot of victories. To give one more thought before I pass it to you, just to give it all, I stood out there and said that the MEAC got the lick back against the SWAC in men's basketball, as they are 4-0 in the Chris Paul Classic that just took place this past weekend, or past week, if you would. The men's MEAC basketball programs are 5-1 this season against the SWAC. The lone loss is to Bethune-Cookman against South Carolina State. The MEAC men's basketball programs are 2-1 against HBCU D1 Independence, with 2 games coming up this next Saturday after Christmas. And those are the ones I was talking about that would be on CBS Sports, would feature some key matchups that I'm interested in. And with that being said, AD Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 that live out there, getting it done in terms of on the men's side for the HBCU Power 5, if you would?
Once again, Norfolk State, the standard barrier. Hampton, the team that we've seen there. Southern, a team that we've seen there. South Carolina State, haven't really seen South Carolina State the last couple of years. We've had a lot going on in the athletic department. It's great to see something going on positive once again in the South Carolina State athletic department. Can basketball keep the momentum going that football started? Can they keep that fan interest just like football did? Delaware State, boy, talk about an athletic program that needs a shot in the arm, Dr. Cavil. Delaware State, we are so happy to see Delaware State on the positive side of something going on. And I want to get back to, I want to touch on this comment right here, Dr. Cavil. Edwin Moore, nobody's going to home basketball games while football is still going. Once again, here's another one of those marketing ideas that we like to give out here on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. For our FCS teams, basketball begins at the 1st of November, and you're usually going to have 2 to 3 weeks of football in November. Within that, you should have at least one home football game in November. Can we get smart once again to package basketball? I know you still got volleyball going on in the gym. Trust me, I know you're wrapping up volleyball season also. But can we package volleyball and or football, or basketball, around a home football game, even if it's rivalry weekend. Hell, if it's rivalry weekend, you know you got extra people on campus. Give them something else to do. Keep them on campus. Keep their money in-house instead of out there at the club or with the t-shirt man or everything else. Let's be smart and figure out a way to package volleyball and basketball around a home football game in the month of November. And it would help, Dr. Cavil, if you can get another HBCU in that game. Even if you play in the D2, it would help if you can get another HBCU in that particular ball game.
Yeah, and I think particularly what people forget about is we always think linear in terms of our programs or our taste. And people may not realize that there's some HBCU fans that are bigger basketball fans than they are football fans. They don't necessarily go to all the football games. The other thing that I think, to your point, is some of it is just being more strategic. It's not like every Saturday you have a home football game. And in some of these games, every fan that goes to a home game is not traveling to the road game. Yeah, if it's regionally close, Prairie View, you have a lot of fans that go to Southern. Obviously, the Grambling game's in Dallas, so you don't have to worry about that weekend. But the traditional fans are not traveling to Huntsville, Alabama to watch Alabama A&M or going to Alabama State for Prairie View or vice versa with Texas Southern. So there's some cases when your team is on the road where you actually have a home game and the volleyball team is not there as well, where the gym is sitting open, and there are a lot of fans that would love to see their teams, and you can schedule it different in such a way that you're not interfering with the game being on televised. So there's some chances where there are a lot of fans that would see that. And if you're here in Houston with Texas Southern University, trust me, I know for a fact that there are more basketball fans in Houston, particularly associated with Texas Southern, than there are the football fans. And they would much rather see the Texas Southern Tigers play a game against Norfolk State at home, or play a game against Hampton coming in, or play a game against Tennessee State.
Yeah, so they'll take a game against Xavier or somebody else who's also a good basketball team. I'd love to see Texas Southern and Xavier in an exhibition game.
Oh, yeah, they watch those games and they actually come to it. They do a couple of those games. They do
Tougaloo or somebody like that.
Yeah, they play those games, but they're far in between. So Texas Southern, while a lot of people focus on the road games, they play 2 or 3 home games, and they are usually those exhibition games, and they have one against the NIA program. And I'm saying, even if you bring in, to your point, they bring in a Stephen F. Austin, the Sam Houston State. When they bring them in, they've had a game this year where they played Texas State, and that game had a really good crowd at Texas Southern University. So also this is between matchups. I think sometimes we have to be careful about just generalizing all this across the board. The point is that you got to be more strategic in terms of that, because what happens if you wait to the season and you have these significant losses, the same fans that you're talking about are not coming. They still not going to come because they're going to say, what is the reason I should be coming to see a team that is 1-9?
You upside down to February. Just say it, Dr. Cavil. Most of our teams going to be upside down to February.
Yeah. So a little bit more there. With that being said, we'll take a last break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll do a little homage for those that are into the Christmas spirit. And I'm going to ask our listeners out there to tell us what is their Christmas wish for their HBCU. And we'll talk a little bit after this break.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app and enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with AD. AD, let's get into it in terms of a little festive for those that are in the Christmas spirit. HBCU Santa. I want to know if you are talking to the HBCU Santa, all those lab listeners out there, what are you wishing for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas as you get into the new year? I want to know, what do you have on your mind in terms of the holiday spirit? Some of y'all are waiting on a coach. You're hoping that you get your thought process of what the coach is. Some of you may have gotten your Christmas gift a little early. If you got the coach that you think you need for your program, be fascinating to see what that looks like. And so, AD, what are your thoughts? What do you have any wishes that you want out there for Christmas for HBCU fans in terms of the HBCU sports culture?
I've got to start off with a personal one, Dr. Cavil. What I want for Christmas, and I'm gonna promote Valentine's Day with this one also. I want y'all to go buy tickets to the HBCU NBA Classic featuring Morehouse and Tuskegee. You can log on to MorehouseAthletics.com and click on the page and click on the homepage, and there's a link that will take you directly to find out more information on the HBCU Classic, such as the events that are going on, the tickets, classic information, All-Star Weekend, and for those who are looking for a place to stay, hotel information also. So one-stop shop, MorehouseAthletics.com, where you can find out everything about the HBCU Classic. But Dr. Cavil, and I'm going to get to the other HBCUs in a minute, Brian came up with this great idea.
I like what you did there. I like what you did there, Drew, for you and move on. And I know you're going to drop the next one. I like what you did. That was smooth. Go ahead.
That maybe we can get the HBCU, the Black College Sports Network fans, since a lot of us cannot travel to the game in Oakland, to buy tickets and donate them to organizations out in the Oakland, San Francisco area, so that they can come to the HBCU NBA Classic and get exposed to HBCU culture. And I do have a discount code. If you go to MorehouseAthletics.com, you can find that discount code. Now, getting back to the question at hand, Dr. Cavil. What do we want for HBCU? I want Hampton and A&T to come back home. I need Lassie to come home. Let's start off with them.
Lassie. I like that.
Lassie, come home. That next one I want to see is, well, I might as well put out there. If I'm gonna tell Lassie to come home, I need Moses to come back too. I need Tennessee State to come on over here with the rest of us in the SWAC. Come on over, Tennessee State. We want you, baby. We need you. I just want to see financial stability, honestly, for our HBCUs. There's a list of about 4 or 5, Dr. Cavil, and you're aware of them, that are going through some difficult times right now. I want to see those programs become stable so that they can continue the mission of the schools as they were founded. That's honestly what I would like to see more than anything else for the holidays.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Shout out to Sneaker Shop Talk. He would like to see a Texas Southern versus Tennessee State basketball matchup on the hardwood. I like that. We also got a Tennessee State, North Carolina Central football matchup. I will raise that, Johnny Thornton, and I would also like to see it on the hardwood. When you think about the John B. McClendon history between the two institutions, I will never understand why they don't play games against one another. The distance is not that bad in terms of that matchup. But you talking about another example that Edwin put out there of how you create matchups between particularly these basketball programs. That would be nice. A Norfolk State, Tennessee State basketball matchup. A Tennessee State matchup against Jackson State on the hardwood would be fascinating. I think we've seen that a little bit. North Carolina Central used to be really good about playing some of those teams. I remember when they played Jackson State early on, they played Southern in some of those matchups. But I certainly would love to see that in terms of some matchup. In terms of football matchups, what are some key matchups I'd want out there in terms of some key games? I would certainly like to see this matchup, Norfolk State and Tennessee State matchup with Eddie George, Michael Vick. Obviously, we've seen that last year at homecoming, but maybe Tennessee State will return the road trip and head up to Norfolk State to get that going on. Will we ever get the Tennessee State Jackson State matchup again next year in terms of what we may think of the ranking going in top 7? You can see that as a top 5 matchup. That would be interesting. I know the money has to be right in the terms of going back to the Southern Heritage Classic, but we can get a home and home. Would love to see Tennessee State and Texas Southern being able to get their home football fields updated where they could be able to play some games there. Would like to see that type of matchup. Prairie View going out to play Morgan State. I like to see that matchup. I know that's a personal one that has a lot of sentiments. I like to see that. And I would like to see Prairie View in terms of its move forward in some of its non-conference. I would like to see it come out there as the HBCU that takes on more of these independents and more of these MEAC schools, even if the game has to be played in Houston. I'd like to see them with a couple of those matchups. So those are some of the things I would like to see. We got some good ones coming in as we talked about some matchups that people would like to ask to see Santa Claus. Edwin Moore said he wants a Tennessee State, Grambling State. Yeah, that's interesting. Or Jackson State, or Southern, or FAMU. Yeah, that Tennessee State FAMU is a long one in the making. Then a lot of folks would like to
put that one on my list.
Christmas, under the Christmas tree in the Santa's stuffing in terms of a matchup to come on the football gridiron. That would be fascinating as well. So good stuff out there. Keep on coming.
I got one more, Dr. Cavil.
Tennessee State versus Norfolk State will be a MEAC matchup in 2026. Then they say he's calling. Tennessee State is coming home. All right. I guess that is a big Christmas wish list. Go ahead, AD.
I want to see quarterbacks who can spin the ball for all of our HBCUs, because we had some bad quarterback play in 2024, Dr. Cavil. Say what you want. We had some bad, borderline terrible quarterback play in 2024. I want us, be them homegrown or be them portal. I want quarterbacks in HBCU football once again who can spin the ball.
Last one I'll leave it on. I would like to see North Carolina Central and Tennessee State bring back baseball. Bring back baseball to their campuses and get some of these matchups in terms of what that looks like. One of the Christmas wish is been on the table is I'm starting to see now with these baseball schedules coming up that you're not having the divisional lineups traditionally in terms of the games, that you're going to get a entire SWAC matchup where teams play across one matchup. So you have like 9-10 games, but it will be like Texas Southern going Bethune-Cookman coming to Texas Southern in Houston this year. So you'll see some of those matchups. Those are some stuff that I know people are asking for, including myself, that I'm fascinating to see take place coming up. SU wins baseball in terms of what's going on there. Great comments there. With that being said, let's bring it to a close and let y'all make sure you wrap all the gifts that you're supposed to wrap. I need to finish up wrapping a couple of more gifts, although everything is here. So let me say thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock, after we get through with the football season, we no longer do the Sunday edition. I know some people are asking about that. We'll bring that back when we get back into the football season. But for now, we'll look forward to Thursday as we get in the first day of Kwanzaa. So it'll be fascinating. So happy Kwanzaa, happy holidays to everybody out there, and Merry Christmas to many of you all out there in terms of what that looks like. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. It's Facebook and Instagram, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube. Dream big, continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Course 80.
Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Kwanzaa. Feliz Navidad. Lecture.
Dismiss.